What if everything you believe about your life is only half true? What if the goals you chase, the distractions you cling to, and even the very self you defend are illusions designed to keep you asleep? The ancients warned us. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And yet most of us spend our days examining nothing but screens, headlines, and other people's lives. Today, neuroscience tells the same story with different language. Our brains are sculpted by whatever we feed them. Dopamine loops, notifications, instant gratification, neural pathways carved by distraction. We are literally wiring ourselves into slavery. But here lies the paradox. Chaos is not the enemy. Confusion is not failure. They are doorways. Within the storm lies the invitation to awaken. This is not a video to entertain you. It is a map, a journey from noise to stillness, from mask to truth. By the end, you will not simply know philosophy, you will feel it. You will hold in your hands not theory, but tools. Tools to quiet the storm, to carry pain without breaking, to discover a self no chaos can touch. But here is the price. You must be willing to question everything, even the voice inside your own head. So, are you willing? Before we begin, subscribe to us at the Self-Mastery Movement. This is not entertainment. This is training. And if you choose to walk this path with us, it may just change the course of your life. Close your eyes. Imagine your mind as a sky. Thoughts sweep across it like thunderclouds. Emotions crash like lightning, unpredictable and fierce. In the middle of it all, you feel yourself drowning, convinced you are the storm. This is the great illusion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Modern psychology agrees. The stories we spin about events, not the events themselves, are the chains that bind us. Neuroscience points to the default mode network, the part of your brain that never stops chattering. Left unchecked, it creates storms of overthinking, regret, and fear. And because you believe every word, you suffer as though these passing clouds are your true self. But here is the truth. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it, vast, untouched, capable of letting clouds come and go without being shattered by them. Peace is not about silencing storms. It is about remembering the sky. But what happens when the storm grows louder? When the clouds become so thick you can no longer see the sky? That's where our journey takes us next. Imagine waking tomorrow as Seneca, the Stoic philosopher. You are wealthy, respected, powerful, and yet, suddenly, the emperor condemns you to death. What do you control in that moment? Nothing but your response. We resist this truth. We think we control outcomes, people, the future, but the reality? You only control your effort, your perception, your attitude. Everything else is beyond your grasp. The ego hates this. It craves certainty, guarantees, mastery over chaos. But life refuses to submit. And so the more you clutch, the more you suffer. Neuroscience mirrors this. Cortisol, the stress hormone, surges when we try to micromanage the uncontrollable. The harder you cling, the more your body erodes from the inside out. The paradox? The rope you cling to for safety is the rope that strangles you. The Stoics were not cold. They were free. They released the illusion of control and discovered power within surrender, to accept life as it is and to master only themselves. Here is the lesson. Let go or be dragged. It starts with stress in traffic, then an argument with your partner, then years lived in resistance. If control is an illusion, then what are we actually clinging to? How many wounds do you still carry from years ago? How many grudges still burn in silence? How many regrets echo in your mind at night? Buddha said, "Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal. You are the one who gets burned." Psychology affirms this. Trauma loops are not only mental, but physical. Your body stores pain, tight shoulders, a restless jaw, sleepless nights. Your nervous system remembers. You think you left the past behind, but it is with you, in your reactions, in your relationships, in the way you walk through every moment. A word from a stranger stings, not because of today, but because it mirrors a wound from years ago. Here's the truth. Suffering does not come from what happened. Suffering comes from the story you keep telling yourself about it. The path is not forgetting. The path is transforming. To say, yes, this pain is real, but it does not define me. I will turn it into wisdom. Integration is liberation. Think about yesterday. How many times did you react not to the present, but to your past? And if your past controls you, then who are you really? You check your phone for just a moment, a notification, then another. Suddenly an hour is gone, a year is gone, and your life has been spent in fragments. Nietzsche warned, the most common form of despair is not being who you are. Today, distraction is the new despair. Silicon Valley engineers have hijacked the brain's reward system. Every swipe, every scroll, every click pumps dopamine into your veins. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity. Your brain rewires itself around what you give attention to. Marcus Aurelius said it more simply, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. This is why distraction is not harmless. It doesn't just waste time, it rewires identity. It steals not just hours, but who you are becoming. Most will live and die in this digital hypnosis, but not you. You are here because you feel the cost. You sense there is more. So the solution must be simple. Delete the apps, turn off the phone. But it's not that easy, is it? Because distraction isn't just on your device. It's in your mind. Strip away your job, your possessions, your image. Who remains? The ego screams, I am my status. I am my achievements. I am my reputation. But peel back the mask and you find fear. Fear of being nothing, fear of being unseen, fear of confronting the raw self beneath performance. Modern psychology names it the persona, the mask we wear to belong. Ancient mystics called it Maya, the illusion of self. Neuroscience shows the brain's default mode network spins endless stories of me, me, me to keep the ego alive. But the more tightly you cling to the mask, the further you drift from truth. The tragedy? Most live and die behind the mask, never meeting themselves. Here's the breakthrough. The self you defend so fiercely is a ghost. Let it dissolve, and you encounter something vaster. Presence, awareness, the quiet witness behind the performance. This is the doorway to freedom. You are not the mask. You are the consciousness wearing it. But if the mask falls, what is left? Is there anything real beneath it? Or is the self itself an illusion? Most people sense it, the quiet ache that whispers late at night. Something is missing, so they search. They buy more. They chase promotions. They travel endlessly, hoping new scenery will heal old wounds. And for a moment it works. The new car excites. The relationship intoxicates. The house impresses. But then, emptiness returns. The cycle begins again. The Buddha named this samsara, the endless wheel of craving and suffering. Modern psychology calls it the hedonic treadmill. Neuroscience explains why. Dopamine spikes during anticipation of reward, not its possession, which means you are addicted not to the thing, but to the chase. Here's the cruel trick. The void cannot be filled by chasing because the void isn't out there. It's in here. This is why kings have felt empty in palaces and monks have felt full with nothing. What you seek is not in the world. It is in the way you see the world. It starts with a new phone, then a new job, then 10 years gone, and you realize you've been running in circles. If chasing doesn't work, then what does? Subscribe to us at the Self-Mastery Movement so you don't just watch wisdom, but live it. Imagine holding a burning stone. It sears your hands. Logically, you'd drop it, but instead you carry it everywhere, complaining of its weight. This is how most people carry their pain. Instead of facing wounds, they avoid them. They drown them in alcohol, in entertainment, in endless scrolling. But avoidance doesn't dissolve suffering. It multiplies it. Jung warned, what you resist persists. Modern psychology calls this experiential avoidance. Each time you flee discomfort, your nervous system learns to fear it more. The result? Anxiety grows, trauma deepens, life shrinks. But here's the paradox. Pain itself is not the true enemy. Avoidance is. The Stoics knew this. They practiced voluntary discomfort, cold baths, fasting, simplicity, not as punishment, but as training. Neuroscience now shows that controlled exposure rewires the amygdala, reducing fear responses. What once terrified you becomes neutral. The truth is this: freedom doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from walking through it. The fire does not burn to destroy, it burns to forge. So is the answer to embrace all suffering blindly? Not quite, because pain can be the forge of growth, or the prison of trauma. Here is the turning point, the crack in the illusion. You are not your thoughts. For years, you've believed the voice in your head was you. The critic that whispers, "You're not enough. You'll fail. You need more." But pause and notice. If you can observe a thought, how could you be it? Buddhism calls this mindfulness, the space between awareness and thought. Neuroscience confirms it. Meditation reduces activity in the brain's default mode network, the hub of self-referential chatter. Imagine standing by a river. Your thoughts are the water, rushing, chaotic, endless. Most drown in its currents. But awareness is the witness standing on the bank, watching the river flow without being swept away. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." But perhaps the deeper truth is, I witness thought, therefore I am free from it. This is liberation. The storm still rages, but you are no longer inside it. You are the sky, vast enough to hold all weather. For years you believed the storm of thought defined you. Then suddenly, the silence behind the storm is revealed. Yet silence alone is not the end. It demands a new way of living. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort, softer beds, faster food, easier paths. But what if comfort is the enemy of growth? Look at muscle. It grows not in rest, but in resistance. The mind is the same. Each challenge, each difficulty reshapes your neural wiring, strengthening resilience. Nietzsche declared, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." The Stoics trained by embracing discomfort. Psychology calls this stress inoculation. Neuroscience confirms small doses of stress rewire the brain, building toughness. Comfort feels good, but weakens. Discomfort feels harsh, but strengthens. The paradox is unavoidable. To grow, you must lean into what you resist. But remember, discomfort is not the goal. It is the gym. It is where you train so life does not break you. But knowing this isn't enough. How do you practice it without burning out? How do you train without collapsing? So let's step into the place where theory becomes muscle, where insight becomes action, the philosopher's gym. Here, every frustration is equipment, every temptation is a weight, every emotion is training ground. You don't need temples or monasteries. Life itself is the dojo. 10 practices to begin. 1. In traffic, count breaths instead of minutes. Train patience. 2. Before opening social media, ask, what am I trading this hour for? 3. Each morning, list 3 things that are already enough. 4. End your shower with 30 seconds of cold water. Train your nervous system. 5. When anger rises, delay your reaction by 10 seconds. Watch how it shifts. 6. Place healthy food at eye level. Hide junk food. 7. Journal each night. What did I do well? Where did I falter? What did I learn? 8. Once a week, do something kind for someone anonymously. 9. Pause 3 times a day. Where is tension stored? Breathe into it. 10. Whisper memento mori. Remember, life is finite, so live deliberately. These are not hacks, they are weights. And like all training, results come not from intensity, but consistency. These 10 practices are only the first set, but your environment decides whether you'll even pick up the weights. Your environment is your silent teacher. It whispers to you when you least notice, nudging you toward habits you didn't even choose. If your phone glows beside your bed, you'll touch it before you touch the day. If your kitchen is filled with processed food, you'll eat it when willpower's low. If you spend your evenings with people who numb themselves, you'll numb alongside them. We like to believe we act freely, but most behavior is context-driven. Behavioral psychology confirms this. Change the cue, and the behavior follows. The Stoics knew this too. Epictetus warned, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish by others." Surround yourself with people who call forth your higher self, not your weaker one. Build spaces that remind you of clarity, not distraction. Here's the practical key. Don't fight temptation, remove it. Don't rely on memory, design prompts. Want to read more? Place a book on your pillow. Want to move more? Leave your shoes by the door. Your environment is never neutral. It's either training you upward or pulling you downward. Look around the room you are in right now. What habits does it silently train? And if your environment is shaping you every second, what kind of person is it sculpting? Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by noticing. Without reflection, you repeat the same patterns, mistaking motion for progress. Imagine a warrior who fights every day but never studies his battles. He grows tired, but not wise. This is how most people live. Busy, exhausted, but unexamined. The Stoics ended each day by journaling. What did I do well? Where did I falter? What lesson can I carry forward? Modern psychology calls this metacognition, thinking about your thinking. Neuroscience shows journaling rewires memory pathways, turning fleeting experience into wisdom stored in the nervous system. Here are 3 simple reflection drills. Each night, write 1 sentence. What am I proud of today? Record 1 mistake and what it taught you. Ask weekly, are my actions aligned with my values or am I drifting? These small pauses turn your life into a classroom. Pain becomes data. Success becomes strategy. Reflection transforms days into direction. 3 questions can reshape a life. What did I do well? Where did I fall short? What will I do differently tomorrow? If these practices stir something in you, subscribe to us at the Self-Mastery Movement, where reflection becomes revolution. When you change yourself, you don't just change yourself, you change everyone you touch. Your patience in traffic prevents a stranger's anger from spilling into their home. Your discipline at work inspires a colleague who thought they couldn't. Your smile softens the day of someone you may never see again. Philosophy is not selfish, it's contagious. Aristotle said, "The soul never thinks without an image." When you embody wisdom, others begin to imagine it for themselves. Modern science calls this emotional contagion. Your nervous system mirrors those around you. When you breathe slowly, you calm others. When you spiral in stress, you pass it on. This is why your self-mastery matters. It is not just about your peace, but the peace you radiate. Every act of awareness plants seeds you may never see grow. One harsh word can wound for years. One small kindness can echo across generations. You are always leaving ripples. The question is, what kind of ripples will you leave? We began in storms of thought, masks of ego, prisons of distraction, and yet, beneath it all, there is something untouched. The mystics called it the witness. The Stoics called it reason. Neuroscience names it meta-awareness. Labels differ, but the truth is timeless. You are not the storm, not the mask, not even the voice in your head. You are the vast awareness that sees it all. When you rest here, life doesn't shrink. It expands. You no longer fear storms because you remember you are the sky. You no longer fear loss because what is essential cannot be taken. You no longer fear death because you've tasted the eternal in presence. This is not an ending, it is a return to the self you always were, to the stillness behind the chaos, to the clarity that was waiting all along. Here's the secret. You don't need to become your best self. You only need to remember. Remember at the beginning when I asked if you were the storm or the sky? Now you know the answer. But there is one final question. How do you carry this clarity into the mess of daily life? Success is not built on giant leaps. It is built on small, consistent steps, the 1% path. Most wait for the big break, the perfect plan, the overnight transformation. But the truth, Greatness is forged in the daily, the ordinary, the almost invisible choices. Each time you pause before scrolling, you cast a vote for presence. Each time you breathe through conflict, you cast a vote for peace. Each night you reflect with honesty, you cast a vote for wisdom. Over weeks, months, years, these votes compound. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity. Habits carve the brain like rivers carve valleys. The more you repeat a choice, the more natural it becomes. Gratitude practice becomes your lens. Discipline repeated becomes your nature. The 1% path is not glamorous. It is not loud. But one day, you'll look back and realize the mountain has been climbed, not by leaps, but by daily steps. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for permission. Begin now. One breath, one choice, one act of awareness more than yesterday. But here's the cliffhanger. What happens when discomfort turns into suffering so deep you can't endure it? That's where our next journey begins. If this journey resonated, if you felt something awaken, subscribe to us at the Self-Mastery Movement, where seekers become finders and philosophy becomes practice.